because I'm on the board, and as was pointed out before, it's harder to do it accurately on the board. Instead of doing the letter G, which you guys have got, I thought I'd give you a bit of a challenge, you know. I'm just going to do a simple shape. I'm going to do it twice for each of the ones that you've got, okay? But then after that, I've got the visualizer on, and I'm going to show you, because I've already, you know how in cooking shows, they're like, and here's what I prepared earlier, you know? So I've already done my answer, I've measured them really meticulously, so I will show you them under the visualizer so you can see what the G's should look like and compare them to yours, okay? But if you put your pens and rulers down and look up, I will show you what's going on. Okay, so really quickly. What I've done is I've taken this as my start. Do you remember we did this before? We did our first reflection, okay? Now if I reflect this again, just like you had two lines, okay? And the important thing to know about these is that they're parallel. Do you notice that? Yes. If you read that little conclusion line, you would have noticed that it talked about that, right? They're going in the same direction. Watch what happens. I'll try and do it quickly because it's an easy shape, okay? So I'm going to go here. I think I'm going to end up about there. Okay, I'm going to go, that's going to be A2, I guess, you can see that? Yes. I'm going to go further across to about here to get B2, that's about right, yep. Okay. It's going to get that. And then C2 should be directly above B2, can you see that? Okay, now, here's what I'd like you to do with me. Remember, these are called composite transformations. It's really one move made up of two parts, okay? So what I want you to do is forget about the middle shape for a second. In fact, I'm going to rub it off so that you forget about it. I want you to look at the final shape and the original shape, okay? Now, think we got from here to here. Oh, obviously it's lost some weight as it went across, but you get the idea. We've gone from here to here by reflections, right? But if I didn't tell you anything about the reflections, and all you saw was these two shapes, what transformation are you looking at? Yeah, Lena.
Translation.
That's translation, right?
Yeah.
You can see it hasn't been turned around, it hasn't been flipped from here to here. Okay, now you ready? I'm going to blow your mind a little bit. I haven't even done it yet. Okay, now, watch. Shh. And you'll be able to do a better job with this on your diagram than mine. Okay, I want you to watch carefully. When I measure, okay, why is it that it's gone this far? What is this particular distance? Well, I should measure from A to A2 or from B to B2. That'll give me an idea, right? If I go from A to A2, let's compare that. Now on my ruler, let's see, what's that? That's about, well, that's 64 centimeters by the looks of it. That's how I measure. Okay, so let me just put that on. 64 centimeters is how far it has moved, okay? Now, that distance is not a coincidence, okay? Because if we all had the same diagram and I gave you the same lines, we would all end up on the same spot. It's not coincidental. But where does this 64 come from? I'll show you where it comes from. Watch. Let's see how accurately I did this, okay? If I look at this here, okay? The distance between the two lines, okay? Now, mine is slightly off because, as I said, it's hard to do it accurately, but it is pretty close to 32 centimeters. Exactly half of how far the final translation is. Okay, so here's your conclusion. On your sheet, this is the way I would conclude it. You got that sentence there? It says 2 reflections across parallel lines is equivalent to translation, right? 2 reflections across parallel lines is equivalent to translation. How far? Double the distance between the two lines.
Sir,
Yes.
have you burned our lines yet?
Say that again.
Have you burned our lines yet? Yeah.
Well, a little bit, I heard. The fact that this is, these measurements here, that's a bit crazy. Okay, wait, I'm not done yet. You guys had a second one as well, right? Let's do this one, okay? Now you might notice what's different about it is that the lines are not parallel, but I'm still gonna do the same reflection, okay? So let's do the, let's try and do the quick version, okay? I want these two. All right, I'm gonna go across the first line first. So I've got this line, looks like about that length. And this line looks like it's about that length. Okay, so I'm going to try. I think it'll be something like this. How's that for a fast version? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Is that decent? Okay, now, the one off at an angle is a bit harder. Okay, so let me get another color. You need to sort of turn your head a little bit to do it properly. You've got to go this far. So, sorry, I should have said, this is D, so that'll be D1, E1, and F1. Okay, so now this new one will be, what's it going to be called? This one should be F2, right? Is that okay? What are my other ones? And here. Okay, now let's see if I can do this accurately. I think I'm getting something like this. There you go, there's E2 and D2. Okay, now, what's happened? What's happened? It might be a bit easier to see with my triangles than with your G, okay? Again, I've gotten there by 2 reflections, but I'm going to ask you to forget the middle one, right? Stop thinking about him there. Have a look at our first shape and our final shape. What's happened? It's a rotation, isn't it? You can even see it. There it goes, around like that, okay? And just before, right, we did 2 reflections, we got a translation. Here, we've done 2 reflections. So right at the bottom of the page, I'm going to say 2 reflections across non-parallel lines. They're not parallel, right? It's equivalent to, not translation, but rotation. Now, question. How far do you think it has rotated? How far does that look?
180.
That looks like 90. I think that looks like that tipped over 90 degrees, okay? So, I've gone around 90 degrees, right? Can anyone guess what am I going to put onto the diagram next? Think about what we did here. For what?
I think you're going to say that the angle of the line is 45.
Okay, so this angle in here, right? Remember how I measured the distance between the 2 lines here? And then the total distance was double that. Well, if you measure this angle here, then the total angle will be double that as well. Okay? And the thing that they're rotating around is that point there. We call that point P, the place where the 2 lines meet. Okay? So I think that's really cool. I'd love you to finish that.